Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the coolest ventures, brightest founders, and exciting things happening in the Nordics. In this episode, our venture date is with Clarvo, one of the pitch competition winners at the Maria 01 Now 2025 event.
Everywhere you look these days, the conversations about AI, about automation, it often seems to just boil down to one big question, doesn't it?
Oh.
Are jobs just, vanishing? Or are we maybe looking at something deeper, like a real transformation in how we think about work, about careers?
That's absolutely the core of it, isn't it? The narrative jumps around so much. Sometimes it's all doom and gloom about job losses. Other times it's this huge optimism about, new possibilities.
Right.
But maybe the real question isn't if technology changes things. I mean, of course it will. It's how we use it. How can we use it to elevate what people can do, make us more unique, more valuable?
And that right there is exactly what we're getting into today. We're exploring a really different way of thinking about how people and companies connect, how they grow, how they succeed. It's a vision that basically redefines recruitment from the ground up. And it's built on this really strong belief in the power of people.
Yeah, the human element.
Exactly. The idea that if you find the right person, put them in the right place, they're not just valuable, they're actually kind of indispensable, even with all this tech advancing like crazy.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, really, to unpack this innovative model that champions that exact idea. It's all about finding the right opportunities for people. Those roles where the business thrives, sure, but where the individual also truly flourishes.
And crucially, it's not just about, tweaking the old ways of hiring.
No, not at all. It's about saying, look, the current system's broken. We need to almost break it apart and rebuild it, reimagine it completely, all with this aim of keeping people, happy, engaged, and ultimately irreplaceable in roles they genuinely connect with.
So what can you expect today? Well, we're going to pull back the curtain on just how inefficient current hiring really is. It's kind of staggering.
It really is.
Then we'll dig into this really interesting preference-based model and how it tries to solve what's being called the allocation problem. We'll talk about why now seems to be the perfect storm for this kind of change. And then we'll look ahead a bit. What could this unlock in the future? Hopefully by the end, you'll think a little differently about finding a job, maybe even about your own career path.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so to really grasp how different this new approach is, let's first face the music, right?
Okay.
What's fundamentally wrong with recruitment today? What's the biggest problem?
Well, a lot of it seems trapped in what some call the inefficiency loop. And it starts with just sheer manual effort. Think about it from both sides.
Okay.
If you're looking for a job, you spend hours tailoring resumes, cover letters, filling out forms, often just sending them into, a void, right?
Black hole, yeah. I've been there.
We all have. And if you're a recruiter, you're drowning in resumes, maybe hundreds for one role, trying to manually sort them, or spending all day trying to reach out to people one by one. It's just intense effort.
And the result of all that work sounds pretty bleak based on what we're seeing.
It often leads to a limited pool. That's the consequence. Because it takes so much effort, a lot of the best talent, people who aren't actively desperate for a job, they just don't bother with the traditional process.
Right, they don't need to.
Exactly. So recruiters get flooded with maybe less relevant applications, and they end up spending their time filtering the best of the worst, not truly finding the absolute best person for the role.
Best of the worst. That's telling.
It leads to this frustrating loss-loss situation. People end up in jobs that aren't quite right, leading to inefficient careers. Companies make hires that are just okay, suboptimal. And when you add it all up, the whole economy suffers because we're not putting people where they can contribute the most. It's like trying to force square pegs into round holes constantly.
That paints a really clear picture. So it's not just about filling a job opening. It's about finding that perfect alignment. And this gets called the allocation problem.
Precisely. The core issue isn't necessarily a lack of talented people or a lack of good jobs. It's the broken mechanism for connecting them. It's about precision, not just filling a slot.
Okay, now let's bring in AI. It's changing everything, or so we hear. How's it hitting recruitment? Is it the magic wand everyone hopes for, or are there complications?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, almost ironic. AI promises efficiency, right? But the way it's being used now, especially with public job ads, might actually be speeding up their demise.
How so?
Think about the ease of spam and mass applications. It's becoming trivial for bots or even just individuals using AI tools to flood job postings with applications.
Okay, volume over quality, amplify.
Exactly. It's getting so bad that it's poised to potentially kill public job listings as a useful tool. Recruiters just won't be able to cope with the noise. And this isn't a small adjustment. It signals a really fundamental change to recruitment that's bearing down on us.
So AI, rather than fixing the limited pool problem, might actually make the chaos worse. And why can't the big existing platforms, LinkedIn, those applicant tracking systems, job boards, why can't they handle this shift?
Well, let's take LinkedIn. Fundamentally, it's social media, right? Its business model is built on keeping eyeballs on the site, monetizing attention through ads, through premium subscriptions.
Makes sense.
So if they created a perfect instant matching system, well, that could actually hurt their main revenue streams. It might cannibalize ad and subscription revenue if people find jobs too quickly and leave the platform. Their incentives aren't perfectly aligned with making the best match instantly.
That's a crucial point. What about the others, the ATS systems and job boards?
They mostly serve recruiters first, not talent. They're tools built to manage the hiring process, the administration. They aren't really designed around the job seeker's experience or, crucially, understanding deep preferences. That's why you hear so many people saying public job applications are dying or feel like shouting into the void.
It really sounds like the whole ecosystem is set up for volume, for transactions, maybe for the recruiter's convenience, but not for genuine connection or that optimal allocation we talked about.
Exactly. And that structure inherently creates this allocation problem. The incentives just aren't there to prioritize finding the absolute best, most fulfilling fit for the long term.
It's transactional, not relational.
Precisely. And when it's just transactional, you miss the depth. You miss understanding what truly motivates someone. That leads to churn, dissatisfaction, because people aren't in roles where they can use their full potential or follow their passions. This new model we're discussing tries to flip that, entirely put people where they can excel and feel indispensable because it's the right fit.
Okay, so the status quo is, well, less than ideal.
Yeah.
Let's talk alternatives. This brings us to this really fascinating idea, the preference-based model. You said it moves beyond applications, right? Understanding people without them having to apply.
Yeah, it's a complete paradigm shift. Instead of you chasing down jobs, the system works to understand your skills, sure, but also your deeper aspirations, what kind of work environment you thrive in, what motivates you before an application is even mentioned.
How does that work in practice?
It enables intelligent matching. The connections aren't just based on keywords matching on a resume. They're based on finding high-intent connections that resonate, meaning opportunities that genuinely align with who you are and what you want from your career.
And you mentioned this is scalable and borderless.
Right. Because it's data-driven and increasingly automated, it's not limited by geography in the same way traditional recruitment is. And it overcomes the sheer human effort barrier we talked about. Imagine your potential opportunities aren't just what's nearby or what you have time to apply for, but potentially the best fit for you, anywhere.
It's a huge difference.
It opens up a truly global playing field for both talent and companies.
So how does it actually achieve this precision? Is there a process?
Yeah, they describe a kind of three-step process. First is discovery. This is like the wide net it uses publicly available info, like CVs, maybe GitHub profiles for tech roles, things like that, to make initial matches with public job openings based on core qualifications.
Okay, basic matching.
Basic matching, yes. But then comes intelligence. This is the crucial deeper layer. The system builds a much richer model of your preferences, your motivations. It learns from your interactions, patterns, maybe even stated goals to understand what really makes you tick professionally. It's almost like creating a dynamic career profile that goes way beyond just skills.
So it's moving from what you can do to what you want to do and where you'd be happiest doing it. And the outcome of that is
Precision, that's the goal. For employers, it means they're not just getting candidates, they're finding talent that fits their exact needs. And this is key, has high intent to work for them. They get genuine enthusiasm, not just qualification.
which give them access to the best talent, not just the available talent.
Exactly. The ones who are truly motivated for that specific role and company. And that's how you start solving the allocation problem, putting people in those spots where everyone wins. The business gets a passionate, high-performing employee, and the individual gets a role they love.
This is starting to sound less like job hunting and more like having a personal career agent. And that's actually a concept they use, right? The AI career agent or your digital twin.
That's the idea. Imagine a personal agent working exclusively for you to find your next career move. It's trained on your specific needs, your preferences, your goals, and its job is to represent you as top talent, passively.
Passively meaning I don't have to do the searching.
Right, you're not constantly scrolling job boards or sending out applications. Your digital twin is scanning the market, evaluating opportunities, working behind the scenes.
How does it work for me, the individual?
Well, it manages your career intelligence. It keeps track of your skills, understands your ambitions. It analyzes market trends relevant to you. It can even use AI to help you think through options, maybe chat about a potential move. And it can facilitate direct job offers and interviews when a strong match is found.
I stay in charge.
Absolutely crucial. You keep control. You decide what information gets used, what your agent pursues, what offers you consider. It works for you.
And it sounds incredibly proactive. The examples are quite specific, like it knows for cell release hiring plans for 2025.
Yeah, or Databricks wants to interview you. Or maybe even Google is hiring 50 account executives in Q3. Or Meta posted a job matching your salary expectations. And not just reacting, it's anticipating and finding things for you.
It's literally built to power your career.
That's the pitch. Helping you code your impactful future, especially in areas like deep tech, finding those hidden gem opportunities you'd never discover otherwise, and connecting you with teams working on problems that genuinely inspire you.
Okay, that's the individual side. How does this create a larger effect? You mentioned a network effect.
Yes, an automated network effect. The model is designed so that the more people and companies use it, the better it gets for everyone. It creates this positive feedback loop.
How does that work for talent? Why do I join?
You join for the benefits we just talked about. Inbound headhunting offers that are actually relevant, access to top-tailored and matching public jobs without the noise, and even application support to make applying easier when you do find something perfect. And every time you interact, maybe reject an offer, favorite a company, the system learns more about your preferences, making future matches even better.
Okay, makes sense. And for the companies, the client?
They get huge advantages. Matches to top talent that comes with this rich, preference-enriched data far beyond a standard resume. They can also get matches to talent from public sources like LinkedIn, but enhanced with potential preference insights. And then there are these agentic workflows.
Agentic workflows, what does that mean exactly?
Think of AI agents that can handle complex tasks for them. In this case, for hyper-tailored headhunting. Imagine generating personalized outreach messages with one click, including direct links to schedule interviews, targeted only at perfectly matched high-intent candidates. It's a massive leap in recruiter efficiency and effectiveness.
That sounds incredibly efficient.
And there's this clever incentive loop connecting the two sides. Client use incentivizes talent. For instance, if a company reaches out to someone found publicly, and that person isn't interested, the system doesn't just stop. It asks them, okay, what kind of job would you say yes to? That feedback directly enriches that person's preference profile.
So even a no provides value.
Exactly. And conversely, talent use incentivizes clients. If a top engineer using the platform shows strong interest in, say, 3 specific companies, the system might proactively reach out to those companies, showing them this high-intent candidate pool and encouraging them to become clients. It builds itself.
It really feels like focusing on preferences is the key that unlocks this whole thing, moving beyond applications. It's more than just tech, it's a different philosophy.
It absolutely is. Instead of people constantly having to sell themselves through generic processes, the system values their unique desires and motivations. It empowers the individual by making their preferences the core driver. And that's how you get people into roles where they don't just work, they thrive. They become indispensable because it's such a good fit.
It really centers the person, doesn't it? Their potential, their fulfillment, not just treating them like a number in a database.
Right. And think about it. When someone loves their job, they perform better, they're more creative, they stay longer. This model gets that. It understands motivation is complex. It's not just about salary. It's about finding that place where someone's contribution is unique and valued, making them irreplaceable even as tech evolves.
So the big question then is, why now? This sounds amazing, but maybe a bit futuristic. Why is this the right time for such a big shift?
Well, you hit on it earlier. A decade ago, this was probably near impossible. The technology just wasn't quite there. But now, it's enabled by modern tech, specifically the huge leaps in AI and agentic data collection and processing. The ability to understand and model these complex preferences at scale is relatively new.
So the tech is ready. What about the market?
There's a massive market opportunity. We're seeing trends like automation and consolidation happening everywhere, and honestly, recruitment needs an update, badly. As we discussed, that fundamental change to recruitment is coming, especially with AI potentially disrupting traditional job ads. The timing is ripe for a better solution.
Okay, tech readiness, market need.
Yeah.
What about the team behind this specific approach? Does that matter?
It matters hugely. This leads to the YS factor. The founders, Robert Holmberg, Mark Sooks, Juha Leto, seem deeply embedded in this space. And as you said, the fact that key hires like their lead developer and chief data officer were actually hired via Clarvo itself, that speaks volumes. They're eating their own dog food, so to speak.
That's a strong signal. They also talk about a team advantage, including utility beyond money and something called the European edge.
Right. They emphasize a mission beyond just profit, which resonates with talent. And the European edge refers to their focus on bridging the gap between European talent and global opportunities, particularly U.S. companies that often struggle to recruit effectively in Europe. This gives them a unique position in a large, sometimes overlooked talent market.
And what's their core insight about talent?
It comes back to preferences. Their big insight, based on handling 400-plus hiring cases, is that talent is driven by far more factors than pay. They've put a heavy focus on uncovering the motivators of talent. This isn't just a business strategy. It seems like a core belief.
Which ties directly back to that idea of finding a job you love.
Exactly. Their mission, their passion, it aligns with this idea that people thrive, become indispensable when they're happy and engaged. Their deep understanding of motivation isn't just a feature, it's the foundation of why they believe they can make people irreplaceable by finding them the right place to flourish.
So it's this convergence, isn't it? The technology is finally capable, the market is desperately needing a change, and you have a team deeply focused on the human element, on motivation. That feels like a powerful combination for disruption.
Absolutely. It's that mix of technical capability, market timing, and a really human-centric philosophy that makes this moment seem so opportune.
Okay, let's look ahead. If this model works, it clearly changes recruitment. But what else? How does it make money? And what are the broader possibilities? First, the money. How does it work now?
Currently, the model is free for talent, which is obviously very attractive. For businesses, they charge a placement fee that's value-based.
So they only get paid when they successfully place.
Seems like it, and the logic is pretty sound. Making it free for talent means they can get the maximum number of users, which makes their preference model richer and more valuable. As they say, Clarvo's value scales with its users. The network effect depends on broad access.
Makes sense. And long term?
The long-term vision hints at usage-based pricing, perhaps for advanced features or higher volume use by companies. But also, really interestingly, licensing the core preference models directly to employers and talent use cases in other apps and models.
Oh, okay, so the intelligence itself could become a product.
Potentially. Imagine other HR tools, career platforms, or even internal company systems plugging into this deep understanding of preferences. That could be huge.
And that leads to these really expansive future applications, right?
Yeah,
Beyond just hiring.
exactly. If you truly understand people's preferences at this level, the possibilities are vast. For employers, think about using it for employer branding, understanding what attracts the right people, optimizing job posts to resonate better, improving employee retention and satisfaction by understanding what keeps people engaged, even making internal hiring much smarter.
Finding the right internal roles for people already in the company.
Precisely. And for individuals, the potential is just as exciting. Tools for personal branding based on your unique profile. Accurate compensation comparison tailored to your specific preferences and skills. Personalized career guidance. Even insights into team cohesion and work style, helping you find not just the right job, but the right team culture.
Wow. The vision seems to be that understanding preferences is a key that unlocks potential across the entire employee lifecycle.
That's the feeling. As they put it, the limit is the imagination of our users. It's about providing this foundational understanding and letting people build on it.
It really is powerful when you think about it. If a model like this succeeds in truly understanding human preferences, it could reshape so much more than just recruitment. The whole journey, from finding a role to growing within it to planning your next move.
It puts the individual and what makes them thrive right back at the center. And that ability to thrive, to be fully engaged and contributing uniquely because you're in the right spot, that's what makes someone truly indispensable.
Yeah.
It's not just about skills, it's about fit, passion, motivation. This model seems built to foster exactly that.
It brings us right back to that core idea we started with, the enduring power of people.
Yeah. If technology can handle the matchmaking, the filtering, the logistics, the stuff that drains us, maybe it frees us up to focus on what truly matters. Finding work that aligns with our passions allows us to contribute meaningfully and ultimately makes us feel fulfilled.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into what feels like a genuinely different way of thinking about recruitment and careers. We've journeyed from the frustrations of the current loss system
That inefficiency loop, yeah.
to this vision of a preference-based, intelligent, scalable model designed for optimal allocation. It's all about connecting people to those roles where they can truly shine, where their unique contribution makes them indispensable, even in a world of increasing automation.
It's a fundamental shift, isn't it, from just filling jobs to actually unlocking human potential. By zeroing in on deep preferences, the aim is to create that win-win, where businesses get incredible talent and individuals find work that feels less like work and more like purpose.
So as we wrap up, here's a thought to leave you with. As AI continues to change our world, what does it genuinely mean to find a job you truly love? Not just tolerate, but love. And how might a system designed around your unique preferences, your potential, redefine not just your career path, but maybe even your sense of purpose and irreplaceability in this rapidly evolving economy? Perhaps it's time to think about how we can all find those opportunities that let our talents be truly limitless. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Thanks for tuning in. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or your favorite app, and connect with us on LinkedIn for more stories and insights.